Drivers, start your engines.
Welcome everybody to the Multi-League Racing Network. I'm Scott Patton, joining the booth with, of course, Ken Huber out west. We are here for round number 3 of the Multi-League Race of Champions here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway for 75 laps of flat track and fun here. We've got almost a full field, 13 cars or so ready to battle it out here. Should be a good one. And how you doing out there, out west there, Ken?
I'm doing great. It's cold as usual, but the night's going to heat up because we're here at New Hampshire. I believe, like you said, this is your home track. I kind of really enjoy racing here. Going to be exciting because we got some storylines in this race tonight, so it's going to be fun to watch this play out as we got fast guys starting in the back, and we also got fast guys starting in the front. So it's going to be anybody's ball game tonight. So fun watching these practice times right now.
Yeah, we do for sure. Let's take a look at some practice times. Maybe, actually, that's not going to work. Let's see. Looks like Justin Michael top of the board with a 29.5, a solid 0.2 faster than Michael Milf. I wonder if there was any draft there for his laps, but kind of surprised. He's put down 40 laps so far in the 30-minute practice. There's 2.5 minutes left. We got some storylines tonight as we start to close down the second half of the Multi-League Race of Champions. The point standings being one of those storylines I'm sure we're going to get to here in a little bit. And maybe on one of the cautions tonight, if we happen to have a caution or some dead time, we'll talk about that. But yeah, flat tracking at New Hampshire, Ken. We usually don't do races maybe quite this long, but it looks like it's going to be at least a one-stop race here tonight.
Yeah, that's kind of cool because the first race of the season we're at North Wilkesboro. It's kind of a shorter track. This is 1 mile. North Wilkesboro, I believe, is like 3/4 of a mile, something like that, Scott. So we kind of went short tracking. And with these cars here at New Hampshire, I think this is more along like a flat super speedway almost for these super late models. And then last week, of course, we're at Miami-Dade racing the road course out there, road course B at Homestead, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of guys got to seat, wheel, and deal these cars around a road course, and now they're back here on this open flat track, and we'll have to see how things play out tonight. So then I think we close out the season with New Smyrna. Is that correct? Or let's see, that was Stafford.
Oh, yeah. Another kind of a home track for me up here in the Northeast. Short track that's modified country up down in Connecticut, Stafford Springs, Connecticut. It's a little half-mile track down there. So I don't know if it's 3/8 or half-mile, one of those, but it'll be fun nonetheless as we crown a champion next week. And then we close out this very long season here, Ken. As you know, Ken, since February we've been doing this for the Cup Series. We're going to take a couple months off and then maybe regroup and see what we're going to be doing next year.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, though. You know, it was a long season, but it's been enjoyable working with you. My hat's off to you putting this whole thing together throughout the year. I mean, you basically started with nothing. We both talked about it early in the year, and you got on board. And all the programming and all the scripting that you have to do to get this all set up is quite amazing. I get to sit here and watch and just mainly talk, but you're really the work behind this. And then we had Dick Berggren on a few weeks ago for the final race of the season at Phoenix, and that was definitely a worthy event. And by the way, I want to thank you personally, Scott. I got my picture from Dick Berggren, my signed autograph picture from the race that night, so I'm pretty excited about that. I never thought that I would get to broadcast a race with such a legend.
Yeah, me too. Certainly side by side, that was quite the experience, something I will literally never forget. So I want to thank Dr. Dick Berggren for joining us last week. I don't know what's in the future for him. I hate to kind of put the pressure on him because I know he kind of stresses about these things these days. So, but we'll see what's in the future. But if nothing else, I think we had a successful race there. Everybody that made donations to the New England Racing Museum, I sent all the pictures out. There was 14 of them, and I've received quite a few messages already that several people have received the pictures, in the last couple of days. So appreciate that, Ken. Nice to know that it made it to your house out west in Kalispell. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Kalispell, yep.
There we go. Anyway, let's grid them up here at New Hampshire. And let's see here, make sure that is correct. And see what we have for a starting grid. Heath Smith starting on the pole from Talmo, Georgia. Justin Michael in second. Greg Mall in third. Billy Bumgarner starting fourth. Jack Watson fifth. Johnny Hamby, road racer there, starting in sixth. Christopher Davis in seventh. Mike the Dart Erder in eighth. That completes about the first half. You want to pick up from ninth,
yeah.
Ken?
So that number 92, Rod Minton, who's also first place in points, he's actually tied up there with another driver that's in the field, but he'll start in 9th. James Hearns will start in 10th. Trent Drum out there, he's going to start in 11. We're used to seeing him in that Tide machine, but he's going to be in that number 12. I have to see what color it is. Michael Belfelt Jr., one of our other leaders out there in the 155, starts in 12th. Charles Widener starts in 13th, and that wraps out your 13-car field for tonight.
There it is. Gene Daly is on the list there, but he is not going to be joining us here in the Multi-League Race of Champions. That is, like I said, the starting field. Race analysis tonight. New Hampshire Motor Speedway, 75 laps, 13 cars starting this. We got partly cloudy skies and track temperature about 6 o'clock local time. No tire changes and one fast repair, as is the case with all the races here at the Multi-League Race of Champions this year.
Yeah, well, Heath Smith, he's going to be on that inside. He's going to lead us to green. He's in that number 1 car. He's in the number 1 spot. And he's in that spot by his last finishing order last week at the road course. So he either didn't show up or he didn't run that well last week, and that's why he's up front trying to make up some points. But there's some guys about mid-pack. They're going to be looking at this pretty strong as they're getting ready to hit the Geico restart zone. And we're green right now, so they're away. That 87, Justin Michael, gets a good jump on the outside there, trying to beat that 1 car to the turn 1 here. And that outside lane here at New Hampshire, that does work, and Justin Michael does take that position. So right away, Justin Michael wants to get in command of this race early.
Racing back in the pack here. Looks like Greg Mull trying to pick up spot. I think that's Billy Bumgarner here for 3rd spot. Billy takes the high side. We'll see how that sticks here as Jack Watts takes a look down low as well, trying to complete that pass. Greg Mull with early aggression, maybe looking to the inside of Heath Smith down the front straightaway here. Pick up maybe 2nd spot already.
Yeah, Greg Mull working on the inside there. It's not the preferred line around this place, but in these super lates, they don't have a lot of experience there. He steps out the rear end. Coming off too, Jack Watts just behind him. Oh, we got a spin in the back. Michael Melfelt Jr. and Christopher Davis. And we're under caution.
There it is. We'll take a look at what happened here. Lap number 2 with those guys. Looks like Michael Melfelt just got a little loose there. We'll take a look at that. Maybe a slow motion off turn number 2, all by himself. We see him there, and Christopher Davis with nowhere to go, just gets clipped in the right rear, and unfortunately gets the bad side of that deal for Christopher Davis, who I think was in contention here in the top 3 or so in points, if I remember right.
Yeah, well, Christopher Davis was, let me see, I do have that up. Christopher Davis is currently running in 3rd in points, so you got that right, tied with James Hearns, his teammate, as a matter of fact, in 3rd. Scott, if I remember right, do we have 1 quick repair in this series?
We do, yes. We'll see if Christopher Davis chooses to use that. And there's a damage on the front of Christopher Davis's car, as well as the left front of Michael Milfelt's car. Tough break for the winner from North Wilkesboro season opener. Michael Milfelt dominated that one, but starting in the back in traffic and gets loose off of turn number 2. Early incident here, but these guys are coming down pit road already.
Well, this is a good time probably to talk about our storyline. So Michael Melfelt Jr. leading the points with Rod Minton, and Rod Minton is up there still in this thing. He's currently running in 8th, and Michael Melfelt Jr. will probably come out of the pits dead last. Michael Melfelt Jr., I was watching him during practice, and he went out there, he put it down his hot lap. He was 2nd fastest. However, he just kept out there running. So he ran, solid almost 40 laps, I want to say, before we gridded up the joint, so to speak. And so, it's really unfortunate this happened so early in the race for him. So now I think he's used up that quick repair, and he's going to have to watch it the rest of the race and make sure he takes care of that car.
Kind of an interesting strategy for that many cars there. Second half of the field, good 5 or 6 cars coming down pit road to probably top off fuel, grab a fast repair. Of course, they do not have any tire changes here. But
and that might be the strategy too, Scott, because if you think about it, since they don't have tires, if you top off early and there's a bunch of cautions, see Michael Melfelt Jr. back on pit lane, maybe to top that car off. If you're going around and you're getting the car topped off and then there's a bunch of cautions tonight, you might be able to squeak out all these laps. And so he might cycle himself to the front. Of course, if we go green, I doubt they can make it from here.
Or could just this one caution be enough? I think from our best bet, the fuel window was somewhere around 60, maybe 65 laps. So we're already 5 laps into this, so we chopped that in half for the remaining laps there of the 10. So long story short, maybe with this one yellow and a little bit of fuel saving, if this happens to go green, could people like Michael Milfelt be sitting in the catbird seat?
Well, speaking of going green, the light is out in the Chevy pace car truck out there. As he goes into turn 3 here, we expect that truck to duck off in the pit lane. We got Justin Michael on the inside. Will start this thing. His teammate on the outside, Greg Mall, in that 7 car. And just behind them, the pole sitter, the number 1 machine, Heath Smith, will start on the inside in 3rd.
We'll go on board for this restart. On board with Heath Smith on the inside line. There's the Geico restart zone. Justin Michael, your leader. On the loud pedal, green flag out. Lap 6 going on the board here. The Hampshire Motor Speedway, big jump there. His teammate Greg Mall closing the gap there in 2nd.
Yeah, just behind them, there's a bit of a hornet's nest. You got Johnny Hamby down on the outside of Billy Bumgarner, trying to make that pass, trying to make it stick there. And just behind them, there's also some 2-wide racing back there. Johnny Hamby's got a little bit of advantage here in what I consider the preferred line right now. Trying to get around that 8 car of Billy Bumgarner. Can't quite get it done coming off a 3 here. Billy gets a little sideways there, has to lift. That might allow that 70 car to get the position that he does.
2x2x2, Johnny Hamby kind of clears that mess there. Jack Watts leading them down with the black car there out in front. Still side by side. Billy Bumgarner trying to figure out just what lane he wants to be in. He was outside last time, inside now. Got Mike, the dark birder, trying to close that gap in the Crankenstein green color car on the outside. 117. Looks like the high side prevails once again as Erda picks up that spot for number 7.
Yeah, now it looks like the majority of the drivers are single file. Back up front, a little bit of heat on the 87. These 2 guys are teammates, so I don't know if the 7 car is trying to put heat on or just trying to stay in his draft right now at the moment, but putting a little pressure on our leader right now, the 87 of Justin Michael.
Looking out the right rear of Justin Michael's car. Actually, the left rear. Looking backwards, so it's opposite, but yeah, the left rear of Justin Michael up to teammate Greg Mall back there in the Freedom Fertilizer blue color streets, or super, gosh, what are we in? Super late bottle.
Super lates, yeah. I don't get to driving that much either, Scott. Speaking of driving, you know, last night you were at Richmond. What happened?
You know, sometimes things just fall our way, and I put down the checkered flag, and I gotta tell you, Ken, that one felt really good. That was, I've had some big wins in the past, and that one was kind of stuck out because it was my first win in this league in over a year since the championship race last November before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, and congratulations for that. So I know you had to have been happy, and I know you've been struggling. You've got your one computer set up to broadcast these races, and I think Kim might have helped you out with getting the computer together and getting set up and get racing again, so it's nice to see you out there.
Yeah, appreciate that. Looking, got the wheel, all the wheel bugs figured out that we had a couple weeks ago when I tried to race Wednesday night with you on the road course, so hopefully one of these Wednesdays I'll sneak in there and see what we can do on the road courses. But Greg Mall putting the pressure on, and Justin Michael here, the gap just a little less than 0.2 of a second up front.
Got a battle is just about settled. That Chrome 95, Charles Weidner, currently running in 8th. Got around the 8 car of Billy Bumgarner. Billy Bumgarner steadily going backwards. Just behind Billy, we got the 155 car. He's already passed about 3 cars. That's Michael Melfeld Jr., one of our points leaders, currently tied for 1st in the points. Trying to run down Billy Bumgarner himself and try to recover from that spin he had early in this race.
Looks like there's some side-by-side action. Rob Mitten taking the spot from Johnny Hamby. Johnny Hamby surprisingly kind of going backwards here. I would think that somebody like Johnny Hamby, who excels so much on the road courses, of course, last week's winner at Homestead, I would think that a track like this would kind of fall right into his wheelhouse of being comfortable, but Johnny Hamby losing a couple spots to Rob Mitten there.
Maybe if this is a track like Milwaukee, I actually thought about that this week, Scott. One thing that I think you and I both know about New Hampshire, it's kind of a different kind of line, and once you figure out where that line is kind of where you need to keep it. And Johnny is still getting the experience on the ovals, and he might not know that little secret line there.
It's true. Things heat up. They were side by side. Greg Mall got a run last time off of turn 4. Draw the bumper even with Justin Michael, but Justin Michael with the power momentum off of turn 4. This battle still heating up, and Greg Mall looking to take the spot when he can. Backs off early into turn 3 that time, maybe trying to set up something on the front stretch here.
Yeah, we'll see if he'll do the back down on the bottom again. Now he's just going to tuck in. One thing the drivers are experiencing tonight, especially on fresh tires, is they're hitting that rev limiter. So, you know, as far as diving into the corner, there might not be much left in that engine to get it down into those corners. So these guys have to really strategize getting around each other.
Earlier today, Justin Michael sent me a picture of The old flooded Daytona race, Daytona Super Speedway.
I already know where you're going, Scott.
Oh, yeah. I don't disguise this one, but, Greg Mall, loose off turn number 4. Loses some momentum there. It's going to cost him here in these low-powered super late models here. But nonetheless, he sends me a picture of Daytona Super Speedway flooded with the New Hampshire Motor Speedway logo pasted over the top. I think he's trying to tell me that he'd prefer this place to be a lake. So I'm on the anybody but Justin train here today.
Yeah, somebody needs to come out there and take it from him. You need to get up there. I'd like to see Michael Melfeld get himself up there. Another one up is Rod Minton, who's having a solid night. He's actually starting to encroach on the back bumper of that one car of Heath Smith. So Rod Minton looking strong tonight. He's also one of the points leaders, tied, like I said earlier, with Michael Melfeld Jr. So Rod Minton, lawn chair boy, out there trying to get this thing done, trying to get that yellow 92 car up front. See him getting closer and closer on to Heath Smith there, looking for an opportunity, trying to size him up. Heath Smith started this race on the pole, still in third, so having a solid night himself. Heath Smith, no stranger to victory lane, so I think Rod's going to have a little bit of work cut out for him.
Hey, just something I'm thinking about, Ken, here as we approach lap 17. That basically brings us into the fuel window for the rest of this race. Could somebody out there... I wonder how many of these guys have done enough research to know whether they can make a fuel stop without losing a lap. Do you think that's possible?
30 seconds a lap? Oh, I don't think so. I think you're going to go a lap down. I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe if you're the leader, you might be able to squeak it off. But if you're back, 5-6 seconds, I don't think it's possible. That would leave you 25 seconds or so. Yeah. Rod Minton for third. I'm sorry for interrupting there, Scott. Down on the inside, makes a power move by Heath Smith there. So give third spot to that 92.
Good to see Rod up there moving up here.
Yeah, and like I said, him and Michael Melfeld Jr. got that points lead, and I think he'd like to keep it. So, we talked about Justin Michael. He's up there leading it, but Justin Michael didn't even race last week. So Justin Michael has to have solid nights the rest of the season. There's no drop weeks here. Then he's got his teammate, Greg Mall, who did show up last week. And in fact, if I look at the points right now, it looks like, where are we at? So Justin Michael's currently 10th in points. So he's got some ground to make up, and his teammate that he's racing with there, Greg Mall, is 6th. And Greg Mall is only, let's see, I want to say, I'm looking to see how many points behind he is, but I don't actually see that. I just know he's in 6th.
He's Greg Mall in 6th, needs to make up just 3 points behind the lead of Michael Melfeld.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so that's a huge close battle there, especially, all the way down to Greg Mall. And Mike Erder back there in 7th. Mike is not here tonight, unfortunately, so to try to hold on to a 7th position there, but a lot of guys up there running close.
Erder's here tonight.
Well, there you go. Wake me up. I guess I've had one too many Guinness. There he is, running in 7th.
Yeah.
Where he currently sits in points. So, my apologies there, Mike. 95 now, working on the inside of Mike Erder. Down low, Charles Widener. Couldn't quite get it done. Can't get the momentum up there. Charles Widener not doing so hot in points this for the MROC series here. Currently running 14th. So Charlie's been struggling with these cars. What do you think, Scott?
I think so too. It was awesome to see him make this series through the point series. But I've been struggling here last week. I think he was racing last week at the at Homestead, right?
Yeah, that's correct. He was. He's made all the races, so just had some problems. I think if you ask Charlie, he'll tell you that road courses is not his forte. If you look down on the inside now, Michael Melfeld Jr. looking at the inside of Charles Widener, seeing if he can get the momentum off the corner here, which is really important because that outside lane, just about a lane off the bottom, is a little bit better to run, and you can see Charles kept it there.
Man, it's kind of a different ball game. It's almost like running a modified. It reminds me of kind of modified racing, especially in New Hampshire country up here. But these cars that are somewhat underpowered, where you got momentum is the name of the game, and you got to plan your moves, and you can't just kind of stop on the throttle and drag race somebody down the front stretch, because if you didn't set it up from the corner entry, you're probably not going to have enough momentum to finish the pass, that we've seen several times tonight already with guys pulling the momentum on the high side there.
Well, we got some big news now. We got the 7 car of Greg Mall on pit lane. So here's what I was talking about, Scott. Can they do their pit stop They're in their fuel window. You mentioned this. Can they do their pit stop and not go a lap down?
We're about to find out. Let's see where our leader is. Justin Michael off turn 4. We'll keep on the blimp shot here so we can see where Greg Mall is. There he goes. Peels off the pit road. There's Justin Michael. Wow, how about that?
So it's just. So I was kind of right. You know, the leaders probably get away with it, and everybody behind them can't.
You're right.
Interesting. Right? The other thing that you're dealing with these super lates is you got different pit crews, and the pit crews are slower in these cars. So see Justin Michael headed to pit lane right now too. So they're getting their fuel stops done, so they won't have to do it again for the rest of the night.
This is really, really interesting. Like I said, it's pretty much only open for the leaders, because if you're one of those guys that's over 3 seconds back behind the leaders, you saw Greg Mall only came out with maybe a second and a half in front of Justin Michael. If you're somebody who's 2 seconds or more down behind the leader, this opportunity is really not open for you. But now they really have nothing to lose because they have to make a fuel stop. Now they're free to go to the end of the race, and if a caution should come anytime between now and the end of the race, they're going to cycle right to the front, not being able to, or not needing to make a pit stop when that caution flag flies.
Yeah, it's true, but you also have to remember too, Scott, now that the 7 and 87 are getting back together, they're just ahead of the leaders right now. Rod Minton, they're about 2 or 3 seconds ahead of our leaders, but Rod Minton now is free to pit and wouldn't be in danger of going a lap down. So
that's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Now the question is will Rod Minton stay out there and try to do what he can and maybe come in late, and that way he can keep all the guys behind him from pitting. I don't know. That's all stuff that we'll see how it shakes out.
Michael Milfeld back here trying to pick up another spot on Mike Erder. Dives to the inside, turns the car down to the yellow line. Slide job up a half a lane, and Erder trying to hang on the outside door here as Milfeld rather has no option but to let off the gas. Still side by side in turn 3 up here.
I kind of feel like Michael Milfeld Jr. did put in the time, so I think he's a strong car. He's the second strongest in practice and was actually turning not just hot laps, he was turning race laps just to see what he can get on tires and stuff. So he can make these passes without having to get worked too much. I think he's going to be a strong contender.
Charles Widener trying to join the party up here.
Yeah, and Charles couldn't quite get it done there, Scott, but this is one of the interesting things that you set up with this series. You know, if you have a good race, the race before you start in the back, and so you got to be very careful getting your way up there. So it's all about strategy, and you only got 4 races to see who's the best out here as it is.
That's it. 4 very short races relative to the normal races that we race in multi-league series. 7 days, I think we're racing 7 days a week now, aren't we, Ken?
6 right now.
6, right?
6
No
days.
Saturdays, yeah.
No Saturdays.
Side by side, Charlie looks to the inside of Mike Erder. Can't get it done that time.
Now you see Mike Erder coming up on, Michael Melfeld Jr., I'm sorry, coming up on Johnny Hamby in that 70 car. So Michael Melfeld Jr. is still trying to make tracks here. I'm just going to check on Rod Minton and see how he's doing. He's 2.3 seconds ahead of second place Heath Smith. But remember, Rod Minton's still going to have to make a pit stop. So unless he's gaining time on those other two, such as Justin Michael and Greg Mall, who's currently last in the field, 12th and 13th, those guys will be running back up front when these guys have to make their pit stops.
What I like a lot about Michael Milfeld making these moves here, pass after pass, is he's not afraid to find and search for some grip down there, all the way down to the yellow line, all the way up to the wall there, scraping the paint off the right side. The last time by in turn 3, all the way down to the yellow line on the apron. There's a small progressive banking here at New Hampshire where the bottom part of the track is a little bit flatter than the next groove up. So.
Yeah, I do like this banking here at this track. Michael Melfeld Jr. seems to have backed it off a little bit. I'm looking for some other battles on the track right now. Charles Widener just behind Mike Erder back there in that silver to match his. What car would that be? Oh, his Lowe's car, right? His Lowe's cars from the regular season.
Yeah, silver and very dark blue. We originally did a dark blue car for Charlie, but I convinced him to change. Last week, I think it was, because he was a little bit too close to the Freedom Fertilizer blue of Greg Ball. So he was all about taking the silver car, so we made him a silver bullet there.
Well, we were talking about the teammates of Greg Mall and Justin Michael, but I'd like to talk about another two, and that's 8th and 9th position. That's Christopher Davis and James Hearns. Both these guys hail out of Canada. Christopher Davis in that teal 38 to match his Wendy's car, and I would say that James Hearns is in that gold 78 car to match his royal purple, but it's not purple. Scott, what happened?
I don't know. I asked James what he wanted, and I even said, hey, purple's available. It's all yours. And he said, nope, I want gold.
Well, anyway, this is another storyline that we talked about at the top of the race before the broadcast. These two guys are tied second in points, I think only 1 point off the lead. So currently running in 8th and 9th, and I'm wondering if they're just laying back, trying to run a clean race and try to hang on to their point situation until we get to the last race, or you know what they're doing out there. But they're running nose to tail at the moment.
That they are our points leader right now. I think you mentioned earlier we have a tie for the lead. Michael Milfelt and Rod Mitten. So Rod Mitten currently running in first spot. So maybe he was a little bit skeptical about making that pit stop that Justin Michael and Greg Mall made, knowing that if he doesn't pull it off perfectly, he could find himself a lap down, maybe with a penalty or something, trying to make a green flag pit stop when perhaps he hasn't practiced a whole bunch on pit road here for this race. So interesting strategy here, but nonetheless, Rod Mitten tied for the points, doing what he needs to do out front here. 36. We're halfway through this race right now.
Yeah, and he's just about 4 seconds behind the two guys that pitted, Justin Michael and Greg Mall. So he hasn't lost that much time. So if he can get a really fast pit stop, he could be there at the end. So yeah, it'll be interesting when he does finally come in and do that. And we are nearing that halfway point.
One thing I find kind of interesting, let's go back to 12th and 13th. That's Justin Michael and Greg Mall, who have already pitted. We talked about that strategy already. Teammates, of course, from Bandit Motorsports. But what I find interesting is they have lost a second or so, maybe a second and a half to the leaders. That gap was closer to about 22 and a half to 23 seconds when they first came off of pit road, now up to 24 seconds. So for some reason, not sure why they're necessarily off pace, just a smidgen from what they were doing before. Remember, they opened up like a 3-second gap on Rod Mitten, Heath Smith, and all those guys. But that should be interesting when pit stops cycle around towards the end of this race here.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm watching the 77. Just headed, Jack Watts headed to pit lane in that 77, what I call the 8-ball car. It looks like an 8-ball to me. But on pit lane, getting his service in, I'm going to assume that Jack Watts is going to go a lap down during this stop. And Michael Milfelt Jr. completes the pass on Johnny Hamby, so move Michael Milfelt Jr. up to that 4th position. So continually making progress. Another one of our points leaders tied.
Talking about somebody who knows what he needs to do. He dominated the first week. Last week, I remember at Homestead, he had some damage off of one of the corners, slid across the racetrack, and bent the right front suspension on that super late model, but nonetheless, brought it to pit road, and actually I think he called it quits from that point, couldn't continue, but with the win and the points from the first week, he has found himself tied for the lead here. Just needs to have a good consistent day and then maybe battle for a championship next week.
Just looking, we got the one car, Heath Smith now on pit lane. So Heath Smith, he was currently running in 3rd. Going to give up that position, or I think he was running in 2nd actually behind Rod Mitten. He's going to give up that position and get some fuel in that car so he can make it to the end of this thing.
Why don't we take a look at, let's look at Jack Watts is in fact down a lap, like you said. So there's Jack Watts off of turn number 2. Let's see where the gap is to Rod Mitten. Rod Mitten coming off of turn number 4. Wow, that is a huge gap there that Jack Watts lost down a lap. Heath Smith also going down a lap as he comes off of pit road.
You know, there's something else I was thinking about that might have made Greg Mall and Justin Michael make a wise choice when they came to pit lane. So they basically had to fill that car all the way to the top. So they didn't really have to think about how much gas they were putting in the car to get the fastest time. But these guys that are coming in now actually have to calculate how much they're going to need to the end. And so that's going to actually maybe factor into making mistakes there on pit lane, because you're probably not wanting to take a full tank because you want to do this as quick as possible.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect point, Ken, there. I like to do that sometimes and let as soon as you know what the window is, let that kind of take care of the math for you and just top it off and you're home free.
Well, Rod Mitten continuing to lead this thing, so I imagine he feels pretty good about that. He's going to stay out there as long as he can. I'm just going to check the interval now. Yeah, so the two guys, he still maintained that same distance between our former leaders there. Greg Mall, he's actually closed it up again just a little bit. Not by much, but probably about a quarter of a second or so from those guys, the other teammates of Bandit Motorsports guys.
Yeah, I think they're closer to being down 25 seconds now, so continuing to lose just a tick each lap. Kind of interesting here. Michael Milfelt finds himself up in second spot. Johnny Hamby in third. And the lap car of Heath Smith, we talked about him. And then comes Mike Erder, followed by Charlie Widener there. The battle for the top 5 spot. Fourth, rather.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Trent Drum too much tonight. Trent Drum running back there in 9th place, kind of having a quiet night. He's back there behind Billy Bumgarner, who's kind of been slipping back all night in that green 8 car, kind of falling in the clutches of that 12 car. But those two guys pretty much been racing lap after lap in the same position for the last, 10, 15 laps.
There's the green car just ahead, the 8 car of Billy Bumgarner.
Having a nice clean race tonight, Scott. Just that one caution for that early spin of Michael Melfeld Jr. So the guys are doing a good job holding on to the car. They are a little bit free on exit, but as the tires wore, which I didn't get a chance to experiment with, those cars might get a little tighter, but they seem still pretty free to me. Looking at Hamby, he's down on the apron actually.
I was just looking at that, all the way down to the apron.
Trying to find a way around that 155 car. Michael Melfeld Jr. did a great job getting his way up to the position he's in, currently running in second. But these guys all still need to pit. Back up front with our leader, Rod Mitten, lawn chair man out there, and he's looks like he's closed just a hair bit more there, Scott. I don't know, maybe it's about the same.
I think it's growing just another tick. This is the first time that we've seen a 25 number next to Justin Michaels. Is that the gap you're looking for? Or are you looking at the gap between Rod Mitten and Michael Milfelt?
I'm looking at the gap between Rod Mitten and Justin Michael and Greg Mall.
Yeah, so that number has increased just slightly, I think. That's the first time, like I was saying, that we've seen the number 25 next to Justin Michaels' car there. It was closer to 23 seconds when they came off the pit road. So a solid 2 seconds off pace here for Justin Michael and Greg Mall for that matter. Should be interesting when things cycle around and the pressure's on for one of our points leaders, Rod Mitten, if he can pull off a pit stop. Man, how nervous is that going to be, Ken, if you know that somewhere in the next 25 laps you're going to come to pit road and perhaps you've never done it in a Super Late model before.
Yeah, no, I definitely haven't, so I'm not sure a lot of these guys haven't. I don't think before they got into the server tonight that they were expecting to, but they got a little bit more laps than they were bargaining for, so they got to make that pit stop work. I think in Rod Mitten's case, he'd probably be thankful if he got a caution. Well, I don't know. That would put him back, so probably want to make this green flag.
They put him back behind the ones who have already pitted, which is 4 cars. However, correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, but I'm looking at this and thinking that Jack Watts, right? Heath Smith would be eligible for Lucky Dog, and Jack Watts would remain a lap down.
Yep.
So it's really, and then Heath Smith would go to the tail end of the lead lap because he was a lucky dog. So really, if a caution were to fall, Rod Mitten would find himself probably lined up in 3rd spot behind Greg Mall and Justin Michael on lead lap.
Well, speaking of our 2 former leaders, Greg Mall and Justin Michael, Greg Mall did get around the 87 car of Justin Michael. As you mentioned earlier, Justin Michael would like to see this place converted to a fishing pond. But I'm not in agreement with him, and Greg Mall currently at the moment is not. Even though I'm talking about the 10th place guy, you know, depending on how Rod Mitten gets his pit stop done, we are probably looking at the leaders once the pit stops cycle around.
Which we should see sometime in the next, give or take, 8 to 10 laps, I would think. These guys are going to be forced to make a decision here. But Greg Mall maybe leading that pack. Maybe they did the kind of a team swap to see if Greg Mall can pace them a little bit quicker, knowing that Justin Michael probably, I'm sure he's aware of the gap and laps and all that stuff. They have very good awareness of the race around them. They probably know that they were losing just a couple of tenths there. And right now, if you look at Justin Michael, that number, remember we saw 25 there, it's down to 24.5 now. They got the top spot.
Yeah, it might be a smart move here. We got 23 laps to go. Going to be watching pit road really closely here. Back for that second position. Johnny Hamby pressuring that 155 car down on the apron again. Johnny Hamby currently running in third. Michael Melfeld Jr. in second. See Johnny Hamby down on the inside, right on that yellow line. It's not really the way around this place, but Michael Melfeld Jr. is struggling with tires or something on that car. It might be able to get it done. I
love that Johnny's not afraid to use every inch of this racetrack. That's awesome. It's been a long time since I've seen somebody use the apron as much as Johnny here. And he's keeping pace with them and putting the pressure on.
Yeah, Michael Melfeld Jr., I just want to see, he's only 5.2 seconds behind Rod Minton, so didn't really give up that much time. And that's saying a lot because Michael Melfeld Jr. started when we went green after the last caution, which he brought out, by the way, was at the tail end of the field, and he's only 5 seconds behind.
Minton all by himself up there. Let's look at some lap times. Perhaps Rod Minton last time by with a 30.5. Michael Melfeld with a 30.607. So 3/4 of a second or so faster for Rod Minton than Michael Melfeld.
What kind of lap times are you seeing from Greg Mall?
Greg Mall last time by 30 point. Oh no, that's the best. 30.5. So about half a second faster than the leader, Rod Minton.
Yeah, I'm looking at the interval. I'm not seeing a big difference on the interval. Oh yeah, I guess I do see it now.
Yeah, so remember we talked about that 25 number next to Justin Michaels' name. Now it's down to almost 24 flat. Greg Mall 24 flat. He came off pit road closer to the 23 second mark, and there you see the 23 next to Greg Mall. So might be a team decision there. If it wasn't, I'm sure it was in Greg Mall's best interest to get in front of the 87 of Justin Michael. Not very often that you can say that maybe he's a slower car out here this week.
Yeah, I know that he doesn't like this place, but he does a fine job getting around here. I think he's not in victory lane. He doesn't like the place.
That's a racer's mentality right there. Greg Mall getting loose off the turn 4. Once again, digging for speed.
Got Johnny Hamby. Speaking of guy using all the track, Johnny Hamby back there currently running in third, looking for a way around Michael Melfeld Jr. in that kind of pea green 155 car. Johnny Hamby went to the outside, tried to snooker him on the outside and really stuffed it in there, but couldn't quite get the pass done. So now he's back down there trying to use the apron, trying anything he can to get around that 155. Well, Scott, I think we're in the zone right now where pit stops should be happening. So we are, let's see, we're almost nearly 60. God, I can't do math tonight. Yeah, almost 65 laps into this.
I'm showing 59.
That's close enough.
Yeah, good enough for government work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Heath Smith there still struggling just a bit. Of course, he's off down a lap, but that doesn't tell the whole story. We know that he's already made his pit stop, so he could very well find himself back in contention here as things cycle back around whenever this pit stop happens for Rod Minton staying up, lap 60 going on the board, still on the racetrack in turn 1 and 2 with a 5-second lead now over Michael Melfeld.
Yeah, it is continuing to grow. I think Michael Melfeld Jr. might have used up his tires a little bit more, and part of that might be the spin he had early in this race because, Scott, that'll flat spot those tires and take some of the goodie off, as Larry McReynolds used to like to say.
Melfeld, I gotta say, tell me he's coming to pit road being that low on the apron. There he comes. I'm sorry, Johnny Hamby rather. Smokes him on the pit road. Hopefully doesn't get a speeding penalty there.
Yeah, he's been practicing those pit stops, so that's, I imagine these guys are right on that window right now. It'll be interesting to see how much fuel that these guys take because we know Johnny Hamby is a road racer. Pretty sure he's used to calculating his fuel on the fly, so if he gets a fast stop, it could come out a bit of ahead of some of his opponents.
I was gonna say, here's something that's kind of interesting, right? Let's watch Johnny Hamby come off the pit road. I guess Greg Mall is quite a bit ahead of him, right? Because we just saw Rod Minton go by, and then there's the battle for the lead. Greg Mall, well, what would potentially be the lead once things cycle around? Greg Mall and Justin Michael. Billy Bumgarner at pit road.
I was looking at Michael Melfeld Jr. who's off the pace for whatever reason, but looks like he's fine now. He's starting to get some pressure from the lap car of Keith Smith. See Billy Bumgarner, like you said, Scott, on pit lane. I'm watching pit road to see if I see any other drivers, especially our leader, Rod Minton, when he's going to hit pit lane. Got 13 laps to go. Lucky number 13. Will Rod Minton do it this time by?
We'll see. We're on board with Rod right now. Off corner number 4. And as low as 9th spot tonight. Probably running first, of course.
Well, these guys are going further than I think we thought they could go. I think you were saying it was around 60 laps, which we're just at or just past. Of course, we had a couple of caution laps thrown in there, and I wonder if Rod Minton's been able to save any fuel.
Hey, pit road right now just to get a broad scope here, but pit road is empty.
Finally got Wes Holland Sr. out in the chat. Hey, welcome there, Wes Holland. Glad to see you here tonight. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast.
James Hearns, I'm looking at the leaderboard here. Maybe a battle back here for James Hearns and Johnny Hamby trying to close in on that 78 car. I'm sorry, that's Christopher Davis. So yeah, mixed up the teal color cars myself.
Yeah, Christopher Davis has fallen victim to his teammate 78 car James Hearns. So James Hearns now up to 4th. So somehow that pass was made. We got 10 to go. Rod Minton's still out there. I don't know, Scott. Don't think anybody can make it, but wouldn't that be a story?
Man, and I gotta believe somebody like Rod, who's been leading most of this, pretty much the entire race since Justin Michael and Greg Mall chose their pit strategy early on in this thing. So I can't believe that Rod Minton's been necessarily sandbagging trying to save fuel. So whatever he's doing, though, still continues to stay out there. 9 laps to go. That's 9 miles around the magic mile. That 92 car, Rod Minton.
Yeah, and it's almost suicide at this point by staying out, because if caution was to come out, everybody else is pretty much pitted. And Rod Minton still being out there, this is going to be devastating for him to have to start back after all this.
And on top of that, having to do with the strategy that you talked about, Ken, with the more they stay out, the longer that they stay out, the more you got to kind of calculate and be more precise about exactly how much fuel you got to put into that car to make it to the end of this thing. So last thing our points leader needs is to run out of fuel, either by staying out too long or by potentially under-fueling the car and then being a little bit thirsty at the end of the race.
Well, speaking of fuel, I want to talk about the 155 car, the second place car, Michael Melfeld Jr. During that last caution back on lap 5, he came in twice, topped that car off, he got it fixed, topped that car off. So if Rod Minton's trying to make it, Michael Melfeld Jr. should be in the catbird seat.
Could Michael make this and pull it off 2 out of 4 races with the damage? He hasn't even used his fast repair. He says, you know what, I don't need that. I'm going fuel strategy. Wow, that one snuck up on me, Ken. I didn't even see that coming. That's an awesome observation. Remember, Michael pitted with 5 laps into this thing, so if we continue to see Rod Minton, I think it's going to be our test round up here. If we continue to see Rod Minton on the racetrack, that's going to be all the closer that Michael Melfeld's got to feel that he can make the end of this thing.
Yeah, we got 6 to go, so I imagine, you know, he's made his bed, and that's what he's going to stick with. Johnny Hamby currently the last guy, or the first guy 1 lap down, so in the lucky dog position, but we're going to run out of lucky dog laps here. We're going to have 5 to go next time by.
Michael Melfeld on the apron that time. I like his strategy also, staying down nice and low. Let's see if he's clutching or anything like that. I don't hear any clutch. He's right on the motor, down on the inside.
He gained a lot of time on Rod Minton that last lap. So I think Rod Minton is the one that might be clutching this thing right now, trying to save this thing, because Michael Melfeld Jr. is running Rod Minton down.
Let's go on board with Rod Minton this time down the backstretch. No clutch. I think that's a pretty good purring motor there in turn 3 and 4. Trying to keep it under control. Still the racetrack. 4 to go. Man, this is getting a lot more interesting than I thought it would, huh?
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of excited right now. Can Rod Minton make it on fuel? If he can't, can Michael Melfeld Jr. pull this off after bringing out the first caution of the night and injuring Christopher Davis, having to come in for that pit stop that he caused, and then able to make this thing on fuel and maybe pull off a win? And you know, the 2 bandit boys are sitting there going, what the heck is going on here? Are we going to lose this thing?
Right? Greg Mall, I'm sure there was a lot of talk in there in the bandit camp between Justin Michael and Greg Mall thinking, hey, we'll do this early and we'll snatch them at the end of this race and they won't even know what hit them, and here they are. With 3 laps to go going, maybe we're not so on top of this strategy tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be incredible. We'll have 2 to go, so...
Wow.
So this time...
Here, right? Who's the first? You know who the first... Actually, I have it here, right? Stops, pit lane... I guess everybody. No, Rod Mitten hasn't stopped. Did Rod Mitten? Oh, Ken, Rod Mitten pitted on that first caution with Michael Milfelt. That's what I'm showing.
Okay, I just remember Michael Milfelt Jr. pitting twice to top that thing off. So
you're right. He came in to top it off twice, but there were like 5 or 6 cars on pit road on that first caution, and that is your top 5 right now. Rod Mitten, Michael Milfelt, Charlie Widener, James Hearns, and Christopher Davis, I believe, all were, and Trent Drum for that matter.
We are
Trent Drum in the mix, who may be swerving for fuel here on the backstretch as we're on the white flag.
Yeah, white flag is out. Rod Mitten leading this thing for a minute. I thought he was out of fuel here. Coming into 3, can that thing hold on to the fuel right here? It looks like he's going to be able to coast this thing in. He's got a 6.5 second lead over Michael Milfelt Jr. Give it to Rod Mitten as he crosses the start-finish line. Rod Mitten. And the guy that's tied for first in points is going to finish second. Michael Milfelt Jr. Pretty incredible.
There's Charlie Widener rather finishing 3rd. James Hearns, Christopher Davis across the line. And Trent Drum off the corner for 6th spot, I believe this is. Trent Drum, and then Justin Michael and Greg Mall behind him. What a finish to that one, huh?
Yeah, Christopher Davis, Charles Widener. Charles Widener, I kind of didn't give him too much credit tonight, but here he comes out with 30. He was kind of drifting back, and so impressive getting on that podium tonight for Charles Widener.
There he is in that yellow super late model, Rod Mitten. Taking him down here. Race number 3 on the season. Not to mention tied for the points. He's going to be feeling pretty good going into Stafford next week.
Well, I know, Scott, you could always talk to him, so I was able to get all the drivers' team radios in the booth, so we can do interviews anytime you'd like.
All right, let's cue those up here. Give me just a second.
We see Rod Mitten doing that victory burnout right now. He just parked the car there on the start-finish line. Getting ready for his nice photograph there. Man, I gotta tell you, Scott, that was an incredible race. I really enjoyed that. What a finish! I think you mentioned, hey, anybody but Justin Michael winning this thing tonight. We got exactly that. Matter of fact, Justin Michael and Greg Ball kind of that strategy didn't pay off, finishing 7th and 8th respectively. Justin Michael did get back by Greg Mall, but yeah, those guys kind of had a tough night. They were kind of already back there in the points, so it's going to hurt them tonight.
Yeah, but let's nonetheless talk to our race winner, Rod Mitten, buddy. Talk about putting a race together from start to finish. That is my style. That is what I love to see, Rod. People who can eyeball a race from the drop of the green flag, knowing that it might be close on fuel, coming in when it counts, topping off in the top 5, I think top 6 or so in this results are all the guys that topped off. Beating the Bandit Motorsports guys who have been proved to be dominant throughout the Cup Series, but I know you didn't see much action up there in terms of passes and other cars, but how'd it look from your windshield here tonight?
Let's go. Well, first off, yeah, it's been a while, but nah, I mean, there wasn't much action once I got out in front. Obviously, came in lap 4. I knew it was going to be close if there was no cautions. It was going to be a fuel mileage kind of saving race. I'm surprised more guys didn't try and clutch and try and stretch it out. But I mean, yeah, once I got up there, it was smooth sailing. I raced pretty hard at the beginning of the race. I was going to save tire, but I kind of felt like once everybody's tires wore down, it was going to be impossible to pass, which seems like the way it turned out for the guys that did stay out. So I make some moves early on, pushed pretty hard to get by a few of those guys in the middle of the pack, having to start 9th.
Yeah, we saw that starting deep in the pack, but that kind of led right into your hand of stopping there early. Did you stop with the intention of that being your only stop for the entire race, or did you not, or did you question whether even at lap 5 when that caution came out, I think the caution came out at lap 2 rather, and lasted until about lap 5. Did you question whether you could make it there to the end of the race, or did you know with a lot of confidence that that pretty much sealed the deal?
I'll tell you what, I really did not get to practice as much as I would want this week, so I had no idea how this thing would go on a fuel run. I had heard that it was probably not going to make it, and I could see on my gauge I wasn't going to make it, so I just was like, I'll come in. If it goes green, I got a better chance than everybody else, so it's kind of fell into my hands tonight.
Awesome job, Rod. And I got to tell you, I'm sure you probably looked at the points here and you saw your name at the top there, tied with Mr. Michael Milfeld Jr., who also finished second tonight. What do you got going next week? Because it doesn't look to me, if I'm not no math wizard, but I think you taking the win today is going to break that tie going into Stafford next week. What do you got there for the last race of the multi-league race of champions?
Not a track I have a lot of experience on, so I'll have to jump on and try and get some laps in and just be ready, have another good run. I mean, I had 2 top 5s to start, so I've just been trying to be consistent all year.
Sounds good. Sounds like you just got to keep doing what you've been doing, and appreciate your participation here in the multi-league race of champions. Congrats on the win this evening. Ken, you got anything for Rod here?
No, good job, Rod. I got one thing for you. You're racing in the lawn chair tonight.
You know, that happened one time, and I'll tell you what, I had a pretty good run, so maybe I'll have to bring it back one of these days.
Oh, you can't beat a win tonight, though, so congrats on that win. It was a lot of fun. Scott and I were kind of getting really excited there when you and Michael Milfeld Jr. were trying to pull this rabbit out of your hat. It was really fun to watch, so congrats on that win.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a really tough year for the Cup Series. We had a few races I feel like we could have won. You know, had a bad late race block or something like that, kept us out of victory lane all year. So getting one here against a pretty stacked field of good drivers feels good.
Most definitely. All right, well, good to you. Good luck to you next week.
Thanks. Maybe see you here again.
Hope so.
There it is, Rod Minton with the win here, race number 3. Now who do we got? Michael Milfeld. You want to take Mike here,
Yeah,
Ken?
let's bring Mike. Hey, Mike, you're up here with Ken and Scott in the booth. Hey, congrats on that second place. So, lap 5. I'm going to talk about that. What happened?
I ran out of talent.
You ran out on lap 5. I watched you all during practice. You put in like well, as much as you could during practice. You weren't out there hot lapping. You were actually turning laps, and then you blow it on lap 3, I think it was, or 5 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just blew it.
But you're tied for the lead in points, and you come back and you get second place. And I got to tell you, we talked to Rod about his strategy, and he wasn't sure. I mean, when you came in, I mentioned to Scott that you came in twice. You topped off that car after the caution flag. And did you know at that time you were going to be able to make this run?
No. I knew it was going to be close. I was just hoping that was going to give me enough.
So were you doing anything to save fuel during that entire run?
I didn't really have to.
I'm going to assume that was because of that extra stop. Well, I watched you and Johnny Hamby go at it for several laps. I know you and him worked on it pretty hard, and then he was working on you for a while, and I thought maybe you were backing up for fuel, but apparently that wasn't the case.
Nope, I was just slower.
Well, nothing wrong with that. So, you know, obviously I think after tonight you'll be second in points, but probably only off by 1 point. So you still got a great shot at this, and next week we're going to Stafford. What do you got for that place?
I have no idea. We'll find out next week.
Scott, you have anything for our runner-up tonight?
No, hats off, Michael. Of course, with a dominating run in the first race at North Wilkesboro, following up here with a second place run, putting you in a great spot for a championship contention next week at Stafford. Let me ask you about the damage early on. We talked about that incident, but specifically, did you make the choice to forego your fast repair on that pit stop?
Yeah, I only had like 4 or 5 seconds of damage. It wasn't that much.
Cool. Looked like it didn't hurt you in speed at all. If anything, maybe saved you some fuel mileage, but nonetheless, great run here. Mike, good to see you out here, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week for the championship race at Stafford.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Good luck to you next week.
There it is. Michael Milfeld finishing second, and who do we have? Charlie? I'll bring Charlie up here.
Charlie in the Chrome 95 machine.
There it is. Charlie Widener sneaking himself into a quiet little third place finish here tonight. Clean car. That's the most important thing. Take care of that silver bullet. But talking about the fuel strategy, we talked about the two the race winner, Rod Mitten and Michael Milfelt, about the fuel specifically. But how confident were you once you made that pit stop that you can make it to the end of the race?
Yeah, knowing that we were going to be a little short, as soon as the caution came out, I went in and I did some quick North Carolina math and got the right answer somehow. And yeah, just enough fuel. So I was pretty, after I went on the track and raced about 10 laps or so and seeing I was going to make it, I was pretty confident.
Awesome, sounds good there.
If I didn't ask the other driver, I'm sorry, Scott, but I got to know because we didn't ask the other two. How much fuel was left in that car when you crossed the line?
I had 2.5 laps left.
Oh, okay.
And from hearing some of the drivers, I think Rod said he had 4 laps left, so we were pretty good.
Sorry about that, Scott. Didn't mean to interrupt. I was just really curious because we didn't ask about that.
Yeah, we didn't. But Charlie, we saw you a little bit early on in the race, kind of single file, fought a couple little battles there. But how was the passing strategy here tonight? Was it easy to pass, or did you find it a little bit hard with these underpowered super late models?
The race was 75 laps, and I was staring at Mike Erder's tail end 70 of them. I just could not. You couldn't pass low unless the guy up top slipped up. You really just waiting for the guy in front of you to screw up a little bit to get a good run. But that made it kind of fun. That meant you were hard to pass too.
Sounds good. And next week we're going more flat track and a little bit shorter, of course, at Stafford. Do you have anything for Stafford next week for the last race in the Multi-League Race of Champions?
I don't know, man. These cars don't get along. This is the first race of MROC this season that I was able to finish. But if I do get to finish, I do pretty good. So we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, we saw you down there in 14th in points. That kind of paints the picture of a rough season so far. Of course, with it only being a 4-race series, it's hard to kind of make up points throughout this. But nonetheless, we appreciate your participation. And of course, congrats on the 3rd place tonight here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Look forward to seeing you next week at Stafford, buddy.
No problem. I need a good finish next week for my pride, I think.
Yeah, good luck next week, Charlie.
Kick you into the off season right, and then we'll kick next week and next season rather at Daytona off on the right note. What do you say?
Right.
All right, congrats, Charlie. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you next week from Connecticut, Stafford. There it is, Ken. The Multi-League Race of Champions number 3 race in the books. Gosh, if you asked me who was going to be the top 5 on lap 25, I don't know that I would pick Rodman, Michael Milford, Charlie Widener, James Hearns, and Christopher Davis to fill that. How much of a surprise that was that to you there, Ken?
Oh yeah, it was a big surprise, and the fuel strategy tonight was also the second big surprise. And I know we talked about it pre-race about the potential of them needing pit stops and how that might work out tonight. And boy, it always makes it fun. It kind of makes me miss not being behind the wheel, you know. So yeah, it was fun to watch, and surprisingly, they had enough laps to get that done too. So you know, Charlie said he had 2 laps left. Rod maybe 4 laps left. That's pretty incredible. That almost means that, you know, for somebody clutching it, if we went green flag all the way and they were clutching it the whole race, they probably could have made it.
Yeah, I wonder how many guys that dropped the green flag had the idea that potentially they could do it all 75 laps. But nonetheless, let's see if our results work here. It does. Charlie Widener, we talked about those top 3. James Hearns finishing 4th. Christopher Davis in 5th. Trent Drum, good run for him, of course, stopped on that first caution flag as well. That rounds out your first pit stoppers there. Justin Michael, Greg Mall, 7th and 8th. Johnny Hamby from Crankenstein Racing in 9th. Heath Smith in 10th. Mike Erder in 11th. Jack Watts finishing 12th. Billy Bumgarner rounding out the top 13 cars from Charlotte, North Carolina. 2 laps down. Something must have happened with Billy late in the race, maybe, you think, Ken?
Yeah, well, I think Billy was one of those first ones on pit road, and he lost a lap, and I don't know where he lost the second lap, but yeah, something must have happened.
There it is. Let's look at our summary here. 75 laps, 13 cars, 1 caution flag, 1 lead change, and fastest lap by Justin Michael on lap 7, 30.005. Nice job by those drivers. Appreciate everybody watching. Mr. Wesley Holland Sr., great having you in here. Have a great night. If you're still logged on, appreciate you tuning in every week. And appreciate everybody else, your viewers, tuning in every week here in the Multi-League Racing Network. For myself, Scott Patton, and Ken Huber in the booth, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a safe week. And we'll talk to you next week for Championship Weekend from Stafford Motor Speedway.
Good night, everyone.
Drivers, start your engines.